reciprocity now. The only time we offer reciprocity is if you are military or the spouse of a military member coming from any state in the United States. They will grant you a license here. It used to be that they would give you a 6-month temporary license. Now it's good. You know, it's not temporary. That recently just changed.
So do we need to know that for the test?
You want to know that, being that it's so new and they know that you may have taken the course last year or the year before, I don't think that that's on there. It's on there. So it's full reciprocity now. It used to be 6 months. All right, so the 3 categories of real estate license. Really, there's 2. The first 2 there. Sales associate, which is what you all are going for, right? You have to associate your license with another broker. And then there's the broker, the person who has the authority to open offices, etc. I myself am a broker associate. I have a broker's license, but my license is under a friend of mine who happens to be a broker. Okay? So those are the 3. Sales associate, broker, or a broker who works for another broker, being a broker associate. Sales associate can typically work for 2 different entities. Typically, it's going to be another real estate broker. Okay? Or you can work for an owner-developer, which is an unlicensed entity that sells, exchanges, or leases its own properties. If you do work for an owner-developer, that experience would not count towards your broker's license. Okay? So the 2 years that you need within the last 5 years has to come from working with a broker or a government agency. They will not grant it from an unlicensed owner. Furthermore, you can work for an owner-developer and not need a real estate license if you are on salary. If you ever work directly for an owner, right, not for a broker that works for an owner, but you're employed by the owner, you don't need a real estate license if they pay you just the salary. Okay? Keep in mind, no Christmas bonus, no birthday bonuses, obviously no bonus based on your production, okay? So just strictly a salary. Here's your military veteran fee waiver. For the initial application, license fee, any renewal fees, I had mentioned for an honorably discharged military member does not have to pay for 5 years, the application or renewal, etc. So we renew our licenses every 2 years. Your first renewal may be a shorter period than that. Typically, it's going to be. If you are honorably discharged and get straight into the business, then usually your first renewal, you don't have to send them the money either if you were honorably discharged. All right, non-resident applicants. You do not have to be a U.S. citizen to get a real estate license. You must, however, possess a social security number. Furthermore, Florida residency is not required. Non-residents have to continue with all their continuing ed post-licensing requirements, even though they're not in the state of Florida. All right, so if you ever become a non-resident, you move out of the state of Florida and you were living here and licensed here, you have to notify them within 60 days that you became a non-resident by signing what's known as the Irrevocable Consent to Service form, which pretty much states that if a complaint is ever brought against you, you would come here to Florida to defend yourself.
It's not the DVPR that you notify, it's the commission?
Well, that's a good question. So you notify the DVPR, but the DVPR notifies FREC. So on turn, you're notifying both of them. Keep in mind, FREC meets 2 times a month, the second Tuesday and Wednesday of every month. So therefore, what does the DVPR do? They do ministerial duties for FREC. They handle their appointments, the incoming, all of the paperwork, right? And they also act as the police. They investigate complaints that come in. So that's the DVPR's function. So you would be notifying the DVPR who on turn notifies FREC. So that's.
So in the state exam, if it comes out, because these are the type of questions that would come out.
Yeah, where one is most correct in both, correct. You would choose both of them. Not A and B, but you would choose the one, for example, there's a question where remember, no brokerage is always an option, right? So it says transaction broker, no brokerage, or transaction broker and no brokerage, or the correct one's gonna be transaction broker or no brokerage relationship. So I don't know the particular question you may be referring to, but the most correct. So if DBPR, right, and FREC are both options, but there's an option that says DBPR and or FREC, then that would be the most correct. And that's what
Okay.
you would have to choose, okay? So here it does say the commission, but it's not like that second Tuesday and Wednesday, they sit there and pick up your calls for you to notify them. You're gonna notify them via the DBPR. And who's the DRE, since we're on this subject?
The division.
The division within the department, yeah. Real estate is such a large industry or occupation in the state of Florida that there's its own division, right? If you were an engineer, you may be calling the hotline where they're picking up phone calls for engineers and electricians as well. But there's just one specific division in the DBPR that handles real estate. In Miami-Dade County alone, there's 45,000 active and inactive licenses that could be activated tomorrow. So that's 45,000, right? 1.5% of the population in Miami-Dade County has a real estate license that could become active tomorrow.